Welcome, everybody, to the GeniusSeeker podcast, where we are helping you navigate the future between man and machine. Full steam ahead. Today, my guest is Mr. Dick Allgire. He is a founder of the Future Forecasting Group.com, an amazing team of elite intelligence, the science of remote viewing, and how it can make all of our lives better. Without any further ado, Mr. Dick Allgire.
You know what we need to talk about first? There's a sign behind you that you can see on the full screen over your shoulder about celery juice.
Yes.
Let me tell you about celery juice. My wife buys organic celery by the truckload. The guys at Costco that unload the celery, they see her coming and she goes, "Do you have celery today?" They go, "Yeah, we just got some in," and she buys a whole cartload of it. She comes up with pounds and pounds. My wife makes me celery juice every morning. Every morning, there's organic celery in the refrigerator, and we have an Angel juicer, and I drink a glass about that big first thing in the morning. I did it for anxiety. I didn't know
Really?
it helped with tinnitus, however you pronounce it.
Tinnitus, yeah.
So what do you know about celery juice?
So you and I have, mutual friend Jay, Crypto Jay, and he started sharing about Anthony Williams' protocol and how celery juice, just healed a whole bunch of things. He always talked about how great it made him feel. And then I heard him say it also, it healed tinnitus. And I was like, what? And I don't know if you remember my last conversation with you, but I was dealing with tones in my ears, and they weren't stopping. But I had been juicing celery juice at the time for about 4 months. And I'm telling you, on like December 21st, it went away like magic. The tinnitus was completely gone. I had silence in my head, which felt very lonely, actually. Which is funny, but it healed it completely. But I had replaced coffee and any of those creamers that may say they have natural ingredients in them.
Yeah, right.
Probably all heavy metals. But anyway, so I stopped juicing in February, and within 2 months, the tones have come back. Yeah. It's all in our food. We have all of these heavy metals, and the celery juice is a miracle cure. So I've got my local CSA, my local community grower. He agreed to do 30 people. He said he could support 5 heads of celery a week for 30 people for 9 weeks. So we're going to do a mass experiment in my town and see if anybody has any good experiences.
My wife needs to get hooked up with somebody like that in Hawaii that grows celery. There must be someone who could get to do that.
We're doing it it's basically $4 a head. So it's for the 9 weeks, it's $180 in celery.
Yeah, we have a pretty big celery budget. My wife says, you're really high maintenance. I don't know how much she spends, but I'm sure it's a lot. So, okay, so we have celery juice in common. Remote viewing. I heard about remote viewing back in 1996, 97. I was lucky to meet my teacher and mentor, Glenn Wheaton, who was not part of remote viewing, was rolled out to the public via primarily the Art Bell show in a way that made it seem that there was only one program, that there was only one small group of people in the U.S. military at Fort Meade that experimented with this, and it was sort of was interesting, but it really didn't work that well, and so we abandoned it. And now these guys, they're all retired, and they can go out and teach it for some money, but it's just, put it into the UFO community, discredit it, and go make some money with it, and just keep a lid on things with it. It was a limited hangout. CIA came out and did an interview on Nightline with Ted Koppel. Yeah, we use psychics, but it really wasn't that great. You know, it was like, we don't do that anymore. Yeah, it was interesting, but so that was kind of how it came out. And I was lucky enough to meet up with a guy, Glenn Wheaton, who was in U.S. Army Special Forces intelligence, and they had a whole this remote viewing was seeded into the military and let every branch see what they could come up with. And Special Forces, they were always the best of the best. They were the elite, and they formed what I feel is an elite method of remote viewing. And when it came out, he was retired, and he was talking with someone, and he mentioned that he'd done it. And the guy said, "Oh, wow, you really could do that? Like, show me." And Glenn goes, "Well," the guy said, "Okay, I got a picture of something." And so Glenn drew it. The guy said, "Wow, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. You've got to teach us." And Glenn goes, "Nah, I don't want to do that." And they talked him into it. And he said, "Okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do it for money. I won't charge anything. Like, I can't make any money off of it. I have an agreement, non-disclosure agreement. I can't tell you what we used it for, but the methodology was developed with taxpayer money. So you guys own it. I've got permission to show you that, but I really don't want money involved." And he kept us away from the money thing. And he taught me for like 20 years. I still talk with him weekly and bounce stuff off him, and he reviews all my work. So I was lucky to meet him. And so I achieved some skill with it that was beyond what was supposed to have been released to the public. Now, I don't want to brag or toot my own horn, but I did some pretty good work, and it got the attention of someone. As you now know, there are knowledge is hidden from humanity. There are gatekeepers in every curriculum, in every field of study. Physics, the mainstream physics guys, they're not there to advance physics. They're there to keep a lid on what the real physics is.
Right.
Consciousness, science, everything, medicine, everything, like diet. You can't let people know you can heal yourself drinking celery juice. Okay, so there are gatekeepers sprinkled throughout humanity who know the real story and who are to keep a lid on things. And I was blowing the lid off a couple of things with my remote viewing, and got the attention of someone who you've interviewed and who we talk with at Future Forecasting. And he got a hold of me and said, "That one remote viewing you did was really good. Like, we know the thing you described, and you were quite accurate. Dick, you should be careful with that." And I said, "Yeah, okay." And he said, "We could make a site where you could demonstrate this, and it would be in private, and people could pay a subscription, and you could have a website." And I was like, no, wait a minute. I don't know you. No, count me out. My teacher told me to keep money out of it. I'm never going to remote view for money. I don't want people to pay me. I just do it for my own, interest to wow myself, but let's not get money. And so he said, "Well, think about that." And so he backed off, and he started giving me these. He'd call every once in a while and start telling me the real history of mankind. Like, whoa, just like things started coalescing in my brain. And I was taking notebooks full of notes, like, as fast as I could. You know how it is to talk with him. And so we formed Future Forecasting. Long-winded answer, but that's how we got here. You wanted to talk about how remote viewing works, or how it's possible?
Yeah, no, I mean, all of the things. So, I mean, I will just, I wanted to say that I do believe that as a human, we all have this innate ability, right, to be able to remote view. Remote viewing is a science and it's a protocol, and you all have a very strict protocol with a repeatable process that makes your results amazing. I mean, you are literally telling the, tomorrow's headlines today. And like, I think Edward remote viewed and said that there's going to be something weird about the Aurora Borealis or something. And then what had happened last night?
So
crazy.
Sometimes we're amazing. Sometimes we're less than amazing. It's not 100%, but you've had moments where you've had this communication with your subconscious. Everyone listening to us has had a moment where they knew something, where they felt something, where they had a premonition, where they had a funny feeling and thought a thought like, what if, blah, blah, and then it happens. Or they think of a friend they haven't seen in 8 years and they go, what's so-and-so doing? And the phone rings and it's them, or they hear news about them. We've all had those moments in our lives. And most of us just kind of put that on the shelf and go, well, that was that was unusual. And then we don't know what to make of it and what to think of it. In reality, your subconscious has been sitting right here your whole life, trying to tap you on the shoulder and get your attention. Like, hey, listen. And you're told you can't do it by the people who are the gatekeepers of our true being. And you're just conditioned to, you've never really tried it. Like, if everyone watching us today, if you've never tried to close your eyes and look up and somebody says, okay, I have a target that I've put in an envelope, a picture in an envelope, and it's a target of the Brooklyn Bridge, and we give it a number, 1234-5678. Now, just close your eyes and go 1234-5678. Open your eyes, and close your eyes and look. Stop. And when we train that, people are amazed because someone in the class always will draw the bridge, and people will go, well, I got this part of it. So if you've never tried it, you don't know what you're capable of. Human beings are capable of so much more than they realize. And it's partly by design, and it's partly by just not being curious enough. I think my greatest, the thing that propelled me the most in remote viewing was an innate curiosity, a wonder. Yeah. I can just go on and on with these answers.
No, I love this. Because it's, you're a man after my own heart for a lot of different reasons, and I'll get into some of those a little bit later. But first of all, you have honed a skill that I've only come to really learn about myself as probably the last 13 years, right? So I'm only about 13 years old of even aware that humans had these abilities, and we weren't just, bugs ready to be zapped from the big guy in the sky. It's been an interesting journey for me. So what I've realized, though, is by being a part of the future forecasting group as a founder level, I'm learning things about myself. Like when I have these 1 second flashes of a picture of something, I know that it's sometimes it's a wealth of information. Sometimes it's 3 pictures, but when I get them so fast, I know what's happening. And so I'll ask myself, like Edward Reardon, he'll ask himself, well, what is this about? What does this mean to me? And so you all have helped me hone my own skills and my own intuition just by learning the protocols that you all do from a scientific method. I think it's amazing.
The remote viewing protocol is actually arbitrary. It's a way to set up a query and response. So the theory behind it, and I find, it took me years to understand this, is I think that our brain is a filter that filters out this information. So we're here, we're this eternal soul that is in another consciousness dimension. And for whatever reason, we get paired up with this physical body. We get put into this body to have this experience in this three-dimensional reality. And so in order to function in this meat suit, in this earth suit, our senses are limited to parabolic antennas, our ears, stereoscopic vision, the sense of smell and taste and touch. And so we have these 5 physical senses that allow us to function like, don't walk off the cliff, find the food, pick it, eat it, tastes good, hear the sound, danger. That's too hot, wow, that's cold. And so we function within this reality without that greater field of consciousness just overwhelming us. Remote viewing is destabilizing. Is when you open yourself up to that, it can make you we all get a little batshit crazy from time to time. What remote viewing does, the methodology, is it allows you to establish a communication pathway. So you set up a query and response, like you said. Edward goes, well, what does this mean, or why are they doing that? And what we do is we'll make like an ideogram. If you look on our work, you'll see a little scribble. So you write the target ID, and then you encode the energy of the target in you A1, B2, C3, D4, with the intent of that's the target. And then you probe it and you ask, is it simplex or complex? And the minute you touch, is it man-made or natural? Is it moving or at rest? What does it feel like? Is it airy? Is it soft? Is it hard? Is it wet? So you start with just low level, but it's a method of doing it over and over again the same way, establishing a repetitious ritual where you ask this question, and in the moment that you probe, it comes to you. And it's learning to accept that first thing that you get. You're not always right. Like sometimes I did a session a couple of weeks ago that I didn't think wasn't that good. Some days not so good. Then I just did one. We have one coming out that maybe by the time you publish this.
I think Michael told me about it. It's the
Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to say it or not. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, we can talk about it because we've debriefed.
He showed me your pictures.
I had a moment on that one, so that was that's a good one to watch when that one comes out. So you can how it occurred to me that the target was Klaus Schwab. After you can see my paper session where it goes step by step. I said, okay, I see a man and he's talking to people. He's on a screen. I get an uneasy feeling about this whole thing, and it's just like subtle. And then it goes. And then when I do it at the whiteboard, you can see the progression for 40 minutes to where I go, I see him from here. He's wearing something around his neck that's like a medallion or something. Like, this guy is like, something's off, and then I finally draw him and realize who it is. And you see me on camera go, is that who I think it is? Oh my God. I said, I got to stop the session because at that point it's conscious mind. And so I said, well, okay, but it's an interesting session. And it's one of those ones that like, how did I do that? Because I'm all I was given on that one. They said, okay, Dick, you got a target. It is.
You're almost like watching a movie when you get into this. The art of the way that I can actually watch the pictures come into your brain when you're doing this. When you were doing the Maria Orsic one, my heart was palpitating when you were going through
when she got the Russians.
Yeah, the scene where she got gunned down.
Oh yeah, well that was
the most intense. I mean, I went down to Maria Orsic. rabbit hole for 2 weeks after you did that.
I
It was
didn't really
amazing.
know much about her before that session. After I did the session, I started reading and was like, oh, okay.
Amazing.
The first time I ever really had the oh wow session, and I've got to make it clear that I have done so many remote viewing sessions since 1997. I used to do 3 or 4 a week. I do at least 1 or 2 a week now, but back then I was obsessed. So I would endlessly do practice sessions where I do it, and then I'd get the feedback and I'd go, oh, I was totally off, throw it away. I'd do another one. I go, oh, I got it on page 4. I saw it, but the other was, in every session is a good data and bad data. But one night early on, I was going to do a homework target for the Hawaii Remote Viewers Guild, and they would publish a target ID. So I got this target ID like LVNQ-APZI. Okay, what is it? So I put the paper on my desk, and I had had a hard day at work, and so I thought I'll cool down a little bit. I'll do a little meditation. So I'm listening to some tones, and I'm laying back on a futon, and I drifted off, and all of a sudden I was in this was 3-dimensional full color. It looked like Kodachrome film. Kodachrome, the color of
The old
that
sepia
color
looking.
film that had a different quality than digital, or 16 millimeter or 35 millimeter color film. It was vivid colors of all these dials and switches and these 2 windows that were at an angle, and it was just all these dials and switches and windows. I went, wow. And I woke up and I went, whoa, what the heck was that? That was a weird little vision. And so I got it made an impression on me. I mean, I saw it so clearly. And then I did the paper session, and I got like, okay, land. I go, there's something moving fast and it's metallic. So I went to class 2 days later, and they gave us feedback. They opened the envelope, and it was a photograph of the inside, the cockpit of the SR-71 spy plane. And it was exactly all those dials and the windows.
Wow.
And I had full on been there in full color for 6 seconds. I was like, whoa, how do I do that again? And now I cannot just flip a switch and do that. Sometimes I get that for 5 seconds or 20 seconds at a good run. Sometimes I get like grainy black and white smeared, a suggestion of something that my mind fills in the rest. Sometimes I can do a little thing where you block your optic nerve and do a breathing exercise, and you'll get a little jerky, like surveillance video, 10-second look. It's a whole range of perceptions. Sometimes you close your eyes and you just know a word will come into, like Klaus Schwab. I thought of Henry Kissinger. I thought, this guy speaks with a German accent. He speaks French and German and English accented. And I got to look up, does Klaus Schwab speak French? Probably he does. I know he speaks German, but it occurred to my mind, and I said in the session, it's like if Henry Kissinger took too many magic mushrooms and went a little off, like that kind of person. That was my perception of him. Oh, yeah. Oh, I can tell remote viewing stories all day long.
Well, and to the benefit of the people out there. So, we're living in very interesting times. We have social media platforms giving us content overload all the time. And so I do want to just kind of hone in on how we are using remote viewing to really benefit the future. There are a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners that are a part of the founders group of Future Forecasting Group, and we are coming together and figuring out how to navigate our own financial business, how we want to invest in the future with what's going on right now. And you all, as remote viewers, have been doing this for many years, since 2017. So you've actually been remote viewing some of the people behind the projects. We know what projects are going to be part of the future. I mean, this is some very powerful information. And I think that, viewers need to maybe, you just kind of take from there, but you all have just remote viewed, Hedera again. I know you did in 2018, and you saw some very interesting things, with the Hedera project. So, how are we using remote viewing to navigate the future over there at Future Forecasting?
To explain that, I have to explain how Future Forecasting Group came about. Was this very well-connected man with great insight into how things work saw my skill and said, well, how can we apply that, and how can we get information that will help people, as you say, navigate in the future? And one of the first things he told me in 2017 was, cryptocurrency, do you know about crypto? I said, not really. He said, you need to get one Bitcoin for you, one for Mimi, your wife, and one to play with. You'll have generational wealth. I perked up because I know he knows what he's talking about. So I started learning about cryptos. And then we decided, like, okay, we're going to do some remote viewing. Can we remote view cryptos? And I went, no way, not a chance. It's too, cryptocurrency is nothing that exists. It's just computer code. There's nothing to see, and there's no protocol to do this. And so I said, Daz Smith and I've worked with Daz Smith on some projects. I can't do it alone. So let's try Daz Smith and I will try cryptos. So we had some glorious failures early on. Like the famous one was they did what they call an associative remote viewing. Like if Litecoin goes to $3,000, you'll see the battleship Missouri. And if Litecoin goes below this amount, you'll see this guy sitting and reading a book, or it was something innocuous and boring. Well, what we know and what we've learned is that if you have multiple targets, either or, the viewer is going to be drawn to the one with the most entropy, the one with the most luminosity, the most interesting dynamic. So I drew a battleship, guns ablaze. And so we said, yeah, Litecoin's going to 3,000 by December. And it didn't. And so we failed at that. So we learned a technique, and what Das and we pioneered remote viewing cryptocurrency, is that it's easy to perceive the people that created Litecoin. What was their intent? What are they doing? What's their headquarters? And so we can perceive that. We can perceive what is the sentiment of people that hold it going to be this time next year. We can sometimes see the logo if we're on. I realized at one point the chart is a very it has a signature that I can see it. Sometimes I can see this, like that's going to go way up and then way down, then up a little bit. Sometimes I can see the chart for just an instant. So we just kind of fine-tuned, like try to see the logo, try to see the people, try to describe what it does. Do you have a good feeling about it? Is it a big blockbuster? Is it one that's not so good? And some of our successes have been like, Daz said, this one's going to involve a lawsuit and the people that developed it are going to be out. And 6 months later, I forget which one it was, there was a lawsuit and the developer was kicked out. And so human interaction, sentiment, physical sensory data we can get. So we've always said remote viewing cryptos is an experiment. It's not financial advice. Don't put a lot of money into it. Although a lot of the ones that we remote viewed, I bought myself and I did very well. Okay, so that's cryptos. Daz and I had been doing a project called Time Cross with Courtney Brown, where we were trying to see next month's major news event. And we were doing it, hiding the data until it happened, and then trying to prove that we had time stamped it. And people were not buying that. So Courtney said, you guys have got to publish your data in the clear a month early. And Daz and I went, no way. We'll make fools of ourselves. I'm not doing that. No way. Courtney goes, come on, just try it. So we did a couple. There was a plane crashed in the Mediterranean. There was a huge surge. It was a big, big story. This would have been back in 2013, I think, or 2015. I forget. But Daz got that exactly. And then I did the Pulse nightclub shooting, and I described that really well. So we thought, God, maybe we can do this. So we were doing that with Courtney, and then we gravitated away from Courtney. So when we formed Crypto Viewing, which is now Future Forecasting, we said, well, let's try an experiment on this. And it got to be a very popular feature. People want to see that, and they love seeing our work. Like, we publish it on the first of the month, or the second, first, right early in the month. And then people watch. And if they see, like, wow, you said there were going to be lights in the sky, the aurora borealis, like you said. So cryptos, future forecasting. Now, here's a little secret. Our special friend who does conversations with us, there are things he can't disclose about science, technology, history, human consciousness. There are things he knows that are past, present, and future that it just wouldn't be allowed. It's not allowed to let that out. But if we remote view it, there's plausible deniability. Like, I didn't tell them that. They found it on their own using remote viewing. So that seems to be, that has a tacit seal of approval. So a number of the targets that were given are to explore topics and information that is not widely known, but is known in the secret schools. So those are the ones I really like. I'm working one right now. I got the target ID right here. And I already know, I looked at the target ID. I look at that and I go, that's going to be...
Is it single or double blind?
Double blind.
Double blind. Okay.
Yeah. I did, I don't know. Some of these, I don't know who tasks these out. And all we're given is the target ID. So I'm given this target ID. Well, I don't want to give it out because that'll pollute it, but it's just a series of letters and numbers. So it's like they gave it to me 2 days ago, and I've been, okay, I know I'm going to do a really intense target this week. And so I wrote it on my list of things to do. And tonight I'll clear my desk and I'll write that target ID out, and I'll just know, okay, I need to be really good here. And it's already tugging at me. It's already, like, I'm not working it. Like, I'm not trying to get data on it.
It's seeping in.
But I already know it's going to be something significant that'll be, yeah, that's all I want to say right now. But I want to be totally open. When I first close my eyes and look, I want to be open to anything. So it's good fun. I mean, it's just, and I swear, as much as I've done it, I do have I have to sit down and go, okay, I know I can do this, because it's daunting to just get like B2Q7-L1G9. You're going to talk for 30 minutes about that next week. I am? What? And so I've done that before. And they're like, Klaus Schwab, did I guess that? Like, how did I get that? Like, you just got to trust the methodology. Like, do this and then do this, and whatever comes, you write it down, and at the end, you've got something. It's like, okay.
You've become quite the sketch artist too. I mean, watching you do that in live, it's just, you are creating this, it's an art form. It really is. What you're doing to me is like, you are like watching a movie in real time, and you're gathering knowledge from history and the future. I'm just so
the best one I did
amazed by it.
was double blind. I didn't know who it was, and I was at the whiteboard, and my hand just drew a woman, and I just drew it, and it was, I think her name was Sky. She's a founder, and I drew her workplace, and I drew a really good likeness of her, just in spite of myself. It just captured it. And some of them, well, you saw when I did Klaus Schwab, you see me start to draw his head, and I go, that's not right, and I erase it, and I'm talking, I go, if you look at him, you're going to see his head. I go, that's not right. And then I draw him, and I draw his eyes, and then I so he's got this old man lines, and then I drew the head a fourth time, and finally it got the likeness. I go, yeah, that's what he looks like. And I go, oh my God, who is that? So the learning to draw, I've had no formal training. I draw like about a ninth grader, maybe eighth grader, but I looked on YouTube, like how to draw a human face. You draw an oval and draw the eyes here, and then draw this. It has certain, like you can learn how to do it, or how to draw. There's a ratio, or how to draw perspective. Like, how can you have a building in the foreground and buildings in the background? There's something called the vanishing point. And once you learn that, all the lines go to the vanishing point, and then your perspective's right. So I did a little training, but I used to do things like, there's a guy hanging on a cliff. I saw it, and then I've got a pen and paper, and I go, I don't know how to draw that. So I would actually pose myself in a mirror and look and do that. Like, how do you draw somebody holding up a pad of like a big book? It's just, you learn by doing it and doing it. But
I want to give you some quick feedback on something real quick. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I want to give it back. So DigiByte, real quick, you remote view DigiByte, and I have actually met several of the team members for the DigiByte Alliance. And you were like, there's a woman that's involved here, and you drew her, and then you actually drew her house. And she was like, we all talked about it. She was like, I'm a little unnerved. This guy actually saw
invasive. Yeah. Well, I don't do it with pure interest, and although I saw some pretty disgusting stuff with Klaus Schwab.
I know.
What was really interesting for me was DigiByte. I drew Jared pretty well too, and he apparently saw our work, and then I got to talk with him and meet him, and I loved him. I mean, I loved DigiByte. I love the team, and hearing his story after having remote viewed him, that was like, that feedback loop is so cool. And he's such a nice guy, and such a, the thing I learned from DigiByte was, I said in my remote viewing, I'm trying to remember back because that was quite a while ago. I think I said, there's a power behind the scenes that's pushing this, that is helping him. So I'm interviewing him, and he says, I pretty much wrote this code myself. I did it all by myself. I'm DigiByte early on. I was just I wanted to learn this, and so I was doing it. And he goes, I was on forums on like Reddit or Discord or something, and I needed help, and somebody solved a problem for me. And we're talking to our mutual friend I told him about, and he said, "You see how this works? Now you know how this works." Like,
Was it?
well, because the the powers that be want to have digital money. There's a new financial system, but it needs to happen organically. They don't want, this isn't like China where they say, okay, we're going to take all your physical money and you're going to use your phone for WeChat or whatever. They want to seed this in. So Jared Tate got help just out of the blue where he hit a roadblock in his coding. Someone was just there to anonymously say, try this, and it worked. And so there are hidden hands that help, that just kind of move humanity in the directions it needs to go, but it seems organic. But
I
that was
dreamt
a
about
that was
it when
interesting
in
because
2013. I thought that I was having to create it. Like I'm dreaming about blockchain and how I was gonna give it away to the community, and I never did it because I was just like, I don't even know how to do this. And then I was introduced to DigiByte and Jared Tate, and I was just like, that's what I was. That's the team. So I very quickly wanted to learn more about them, and I do believe they're part of the future. Right now, it's only at a penny. Right now, not financial advice, but
it,
I
it'll have
think
a
the
run.
utility of
It'll have a
DigiByte
run.
is spot on.
Yeah, it'll run when the big run comes. It'll do
Good
well.
people, good people in the
Yeah,
team.
I really liked Jared, but that was so interesting to me to remote view the members of the team, then get feedback that it was correct. Then to meet Jared, I've interviewed him a couple times, to hear his story about where he was at a roadblock and he said, "Yeah, somebody out of the blue helped me." And then our other friends say, "Yeah, there are watchers that,
Hidden hands for
this one
sure.
was selected as one of the ones that they want to come out and help change the world." So interesting stuff we're involved with. You
So
want to?
switching a little bit more, in the technology vein, you have a new NFT, Barry Schmeling NFT. So for the audience that don't know, Barry Schmeling comes on and you do a lot of stuff on YouTube with Barry and come out with some really fun anecdotal videos. And now there is an NFT that's going to be on the Theta. Is it on the Theta network? Is that
Yes,
how
yes.
it's working?
Well, the story behind that, and first of all, I haven't brought Barry Schmeling out for a while because my wife and I just moved into this beautiful new condominium, and I think if I fired up a cigar in here, that would be like I'd be in trouble. So I guess I can have Barry Schmeling, but I won't light the cigar. And that takes a lot of work for me to come up with the whole thing and like, but I need to do that. So, yeah, Barry Schmeling is my New York financier, my alter ego. When I want to say things that I can't say or make a point or just be generally obnoxious, I do it through this character. Then I can be on the one side of the screen just going, no, 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 that's probably improper. But on the other side of the screen, I'm telling what I really want to say.
Oh,
Um,
every time Barry comes out, I'm always watching. I mean, I'm
oh,
actually
I
always
got to
watching
bring a
all of your
Barry. I
YouTube
got to do a
content
Barry
every time
Schmeling.
it
There's so
comes
much.
out.
Yeah, I'll. There's plenty for him to talk about these days. Yeah, let me write that down. Barry Schmeling. Um,
Bring out the Barry.
so these guys that are into the NFTs on the Theta blockchain, and there are kind of people, they made an NFT of Barry Schmeling and 33, interesting number, 33rd degree, 33 other bankers, and they call it what, the Filthy Bankers
The
Society.
filthy rich bankers.
And then our editor, Roger, he's a musician. I've recorded music. He's a really good drummer and really good singer. And he wrote this theme song for it and had AI put it out, and it came together. And like Roger was going, "Hey, I did this song and I did this bankers thing. I was really busy. I didn't see it." And I said, "Yeah, I'll look at it." And then I busy, didn't see it. And finally one day I called up and looked at it. And I went, "Oh my God, it's great!" So you can go buy these NFTs. But what was more interesting to me was was it Arnold, I believe the guy's name was, explaining what the possibilities are with NFTs and the Theta chain, how in the future everything contractual that needs to be notarized, that needs to be memorialized, it's all going to be done on blockchain, and Theta is going to be big on that. So Theta is another one that DigiByte I like, Theta, HBAR, yeah, yeah.
No, and you actually, I know that you're going through a series right now, and it's even free on YouTube, but you're helping a friend learn how to get into crypto. And that is something that everybody that talks to me, they're like, how do I get in? How do I create a wallet? And it's kind of exhausting. So I'm just pointing them to your videos.
Yeah,
And you're
I
helping
should do
Sarah.
one in English. I was doing that in Korean, and how that came about was I'll tell this. I've been public about my journey into cryptos. Like I started when our friend told us about it in 2017, 2018. I was buying Bitcoin off of like Bitcoin dealers in cash at coffee shops with $100 bills. And at one point, I took my 401k out. I called T. Rowe Price and I said, send me like 80% of it. You know, my heart was beating. Like, God, did I really just take my money out of the financial system and turn it into cash? And I paid taxes on it. And I sent it to Caleb and Brown, and I bought cryptos. And it went up about between 5 and 8x. So I made a lot of money. And I took some of it out in the last run up in March. And I bought this beautiful condominium cash. I have a nice tax bill coming due next year, but I
We're all
didn't ever
excited to
trade.
pay our taxes, aren't we?
You know, the way that it's been put to me is that you don't own this system, somebody else does. You're within their system. And if I could make $3.5 million just by obtaining some computer code and have a wonderful life with a beautiful condo in Waikiki, I need to pay for that privilege. So yes, I'm going to pay quite a large amount. Now, I don't agree with what the government's doing. I don't want that money to go get laundered through Ukraine. I don't want to help Joe Biden. It makes me kind of sick, but that's the system we're in. And until you change the system. So anyway, the point of this is my Korean real estate agent saw us buy this condo and she goes, "How did you do that?" And I said, "Cryptocurrency." She goes, "I want to learn." So I said, "Okay, I'll teach you." So she has a number of clients who are middle-aged to older, like Korean people who have quite a bit of money, and they realize that the financial system in the US and worldwide is shaky, that they know a change is coming, and they're starting to realize they need to learn about cryptos. So we're going to try to give them not financial advice, but information that'll help them make some better decisions. Like I told her, here's how to make a wallet. Here's how to get on an exchange. Here's how to make an account at Caleb and Brown. And she put in $20,000. 2 weeks ago, there was a dip. Marty said, "We're going down in the next 48 hours." I said, "Put your orders in on Tuesday morning." and she did it, and she made money right away. Like the next day, she was, wow, look, I made it. I said, it'll go up and down. Be ready to fasten your seatbelt. So yeah, uh, we're in the transition to a new financial system. Make no mistake. We are going to an all digital blockchain financial system and a world that is going to be run on blockchain distributed ledger. So it's best to learn about it. And we're going to
Let's
try
put
to
our
help
taxes
people.
on distributed ledger technology. We can use DigiByte to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be real happy to pay my taxes if it's on the blockchain and I can trust where it goes. Robert Kennedy Jr. says that he wants to put all of his voting on the blockchain.
I think hopefully that's where we're headed. It's all. Here's the thing that there are those within the crypto community that say, "Well, I'm not going to pay taxes. I'm going to put this in an LLC and do this and that." I got news for you. When you buy cryptos, you do something called KYC, know your customer. You have to take a photograph of your driver's license, front and back. Then you have to hold up I'm Richard Allgire. I'm doing business with, Kraken on this date. Well, they've got you. You're not going to say, well, I didn't have cryptos. They've got proof that you've got cryptos. So, and every crypto you buy and sell, it's all on the blockchain. Every transaction is recorded on the blockchain. So you're not going to get away from that. I think you froze.
It's not private anymore.
Now you're back. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's definitely, there's no privacy anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that is the world that we're living in, and we can just learn how to navigate it, and do the best we can within it, within our laws as us peasants.
Yeah, landless peasants, serfs.
Yeah, well, we're all just slaves, but
I look at it this way. People badmouth the Federal Reserve, like, okay, the Federal Reserve, they inflated the dollars, and that whole system is they're charging us so much money to use money they print out of nothing, which is true. Federal Reserve is criminal bankers that are making money out of nothing, charging us to use it. But I bought a condominium in Hawaii for $174,000, and because of the Federal Reserve inflating things, it's now worth $430,000, and I'm going to sell it. So that corrupt system worked okay for me. I mean, it's a shame what they did is they took that debt and they're spreading it around the world.
Right.
But me, I mean, what can I do about that?
We can't do much about it. That's why we're going to play our music, right, Dick? And we should probably do the Bitcoin conference in Nashville and at least get together and all have a little jam. I think Marty's down for that. So and bringing us to the music.
ThetaCon in Las Vegas in December.
I think
we're going to set up a future forecasting event there. What's really fun for me is to meet the founders and the subscribers. They come, sometimes they come to Hawaii and meet me, and we do the conversations. And the cool thing about it is most of the people that work with future forecasting, we have Marty, who's our analyst, we have you, and we have Franklin and Jamie, and we had Phil, and all these great people that came to us as subscribers. And then we'd look at their comments and we'd go, hey, that person's really sharp. Like, let's give them some duties. Like Colleen was watching our stuff, and she emailed me and said, oh man, I can't afford the membership this month. And so we not only gave her a membership, we said, well, why don't you do this for us and we'll pay you. And now she's on the payroll and she's doing great work for us. So we're spotting talent. it's like we have this orbit and people come into our orbit, and if the gravity attracts them, they get pulled into our orbit and they become part of our little system. So it's really neat how that's all working out.
It is. It's
So,
amazing to be a part of this team. Absolutely. It's how it worked out for me. I lost UPS laid off 12,000 people on February 9th was my last day. And I've been sending out hundreds of resumes like everybody else in the United States right now. This is the great squeeze. Everybody's unemployed and companies are, pulling salaries down, giving more responsibilities. But I was just like, what am I going to do? And when this opportunity came open, I'm like, this is all I want to do. I want to work with this team. And then, all of the different content, Dennis Nappy interviewed Ellie Molina, who was teaching kids psi abilities, basically remote viewing for kids. And she's got a course catalog that she wants to share with the world. So I'm going to get my daughter and my granddaughter involved. I mean,
yeah,
you all have been changing our lives in so many different ways. It's just
I think part of what we have in store for you, I think, is you are going to use LinkedIn to find people of means that are thirsting for this knowledge of like, what is going to happen to this system? Who really runs it? How can I protect my assets? And so that's and if we can help people, that's a really good thing. That's whenever we have conversations, we always ask, like, well, have we impacted your life in a positive way? So I wouldn't do this if I didn't, if it wasn't right.
Right. No, we really truly want to help people. We want to protect people. We want to keep them safe so they don't get hacked. They don't lose their cryptos, but not only the cryptos. I mean, we've got really good life lessons and health lessons. You all remote viewed the C60 protocol.
Yeah, I still use C60. Cancer. I got to order some more C60.
Yeah. So it's like a wealth of information. I will be honest, I used to have several different news sources, and now I know that I can come to the future forecasters and I really don't have to waste my time on other social media trying to ingest what's important.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to try to do more information, like not financial advice, but how to, one thing I learned that I lucked out with my cryptos is I never did trades. I was a pure hodler. I bought at the dips and I held it for years. So my capital gains is hopefully only going to be 15%. I don't have a bunch of trades to report. It sat there. I took it out at once and I'm going to pay the 15% and write my check to the IRS and say, there you go, guys.
I hear you. Listen, I know we only had 60 minutes scheduled, so we're almost to the end. But I really wanted to touch base on the concert that never was. I'm curious with your relationship, since you were a diving captain with the Grateful Dead. Jerry Garcia.
Yeah, I met Jerry Garcia and got to hang out with him. What a amazing, friendly, brilliant guy. I had been a deadhead for many, many years. Like for 25 years, my friends and I, we were in high school and we went to a Grateful Dead concert at the Terrace Ballroom in Salt Lake City. And we all got there early and we were right up against the stage. And these guys came out and they were tuning up with their acoustic guitars. And we looked at each other and went, that's the best band I've ever heard. And they're just tuning up, like, wow. And they played this amazing acoustic set. And then they started playing electric. And it was like, whoa. It was like the universe became music, and it was the Grateful Dead. Like they were a fundamental source of the universe. It was just, we were all just, what the hell was that? And we all just went, I'm never going to be the same. That was the most amazing thing. and we saw all the good bands of the era. Like I went and saw Creedence Clearwater Revival, Iron Butterfly, Pink Floyd, Moody Blues, Led Zeppelin, all the Eric Clapton, all the greats, and it was all good. But the Grateful Dead was a whole other level. Consciousness expanding. What they do is they would never play the same. They would feel the atmosphere and the the group consciousness, and it would be a thing where they'd go into this formless music, and then we'd all create something out of it, and we'd all go, "Wow, they found it!" And it was incredibly transformative and telepathic, and it opened me up to the idea of remote viewing. And so my friends and I we would go to Grateful Dead concerts every year, at least once a year. We'd go see them for 3 nights, and we'd meet from all over the United States and renew acquaintances and go have this religious experience with this fabulous band. So I was diving in 1989 over in Kona, and I was doing a news story on they were dropping anchors on the coral reef. All the dive boats, they'd go out and they'd drop an anchor and it would destroy the reef. And so the dive shops got together and said, if we put one mooring in at every dive spot, you could sink some concrete and put a little eye bolt, and then you could come and we could tie up to that and not drop an anchor on the reef. Seemed the intelligent thing to do. And the Department of Land and Natural Resources, you can't put concrete on the reef. That's not allowed. But the alternative is dropping an anchor, and the anchors crush the coral and kill it. So Jerry Garcia was diving at that time, and he put up the money to make the anchor spots. And so I was doing a story on that, and the dive shop said, we're going to take you out privately to show this to you, but we're taking a tour out today. Okay, that's better. I'll shoot the tour. They go, Jerry Garcia is going to be there. And I went, oh, wow. So they said, Jerry, this is Dick Allgire. He's a famous newscaster here. Dick, Jerry, I shook his hand. I said, well, I've enjoyed your music for a lot of years, to say the least. And so I spent the day on the boat, interviewed him, and then got to know him and he came to Oahu, and I called the office and said, I want to take Jerry out. So I took him and his right-hand man, Steve Parrish, out. A couple of days diving, and they brought me backstage, brought my parents backstage. So Jerry and I had a pretty good relationship for a while, and I never got to talk to him about remote viewing, because remote viewing was after he passed. After I had a Grateful Dead period of my life from 1970 to 95, and I didn't get into remote viewing till 97, and he passed away at 95. So I would love to have talked to him about remote viewing. He would have just been
so fascinated. Have you heard Bob Weir talk about, he finally starts talking about how he called it the company, did mind control through the concert that never was, the Cornell University. It was in 1977. It was May 8th, 1977. All these people believed that
it was the greatest Dead show ever. It's gone down as this was the greatest show ever. Yeah.
And it messed a lot of people up because Pig Pen was dead. Do you remember hearing the story about it? I was just curious.
I've heard him say, like, maybe that was just, it didn't really happen, and it was just like the Mandela
Everybody
effect.
Thinks that they attended there, but it never happened. It was just a mind control experiment by the CIA, the company.
Okay, well, here's my Grateful Dead story. Our friend who we talked to at Future Forecasting, and who you had the private conversation with, he said to me, Dick, you were a Deadhead, right? Yeah. And he goes, they had a sound system called the Wall of Sound. I go, oh yeah, I went to a few concerts for that. They had this 40-foot high. And he said, that was designed by MK Ultra.
By who?
That was MK Ultra, the CIA.
Oh.
It was a MK Ultra was a CIA program, mind control program. He said they had a standing wave that could induce a psychedelic experience. So you'd go to a Dead concert, and it happened to me. I wouldn't take acid at the con. No, you could go there straight, and you'd be on acid. I mean, and it was the music and the waveforms from their amazing sound system. So yeah, it was all part of the pushing humanity in one direction that it needs to go.
It sounds like we're there. we're where they were trying to go right now. Anyway,
yeah. I need to talk to Bob Ware sometime. I need to get a hold of their people and tell Bobby about remote viewing. I mean, I'm sure every deadhead goes up to Bob Ware and says, "Hey, there was the time in Denver in 1977 when you read my mind," and he's probably heard it a million times. But I actually had that with Jerry, where I ingested a little too much of something once at a concert, and I was like, they're playing. I was right up front under Jerry. Ooh, I'm like melting into the floor. No, you're not. You're just high. I really am melting into the floor, and it was like, it got like a little too intense, and then the tie-dye amplifiers started turning into cartoon characters, and it was like getting a little uncomfortable. So I'm like, you're Dick Allgire, you're at a Grateful Dead concert, and you're just really high. You're going to be okay. No, I'm not. I got to get out of here. So I turned to my friends. I said, I got to go get some fresh air. And I went to get up, and Jerry looked me in the eye, and he went, "It's okay. I know how I've been there too. It's all right. With the music, you'll get through it. Just groove with the music, you're meant to be that way. It's fine." And I sat back down, and he played this lick to me and just nodded and smiled. I go, God, I just had a telepathic experience with Jerry Garcia. So on the dive boat, I was talking with him as like TV newscaster, and he was talking to me as environmental spokesman for the Grateful Dead. And then I asked him a question about a jam they did. I go, one time and he just started laughing because he realized I was a deadhead. So I told him that story. I said, one time at this concert, I was freaking out, and he goes, I go, did I imagine that? He goes, oh, no, that happens all the time. It's just like throwing out a lifeline. He validated it. So
right. Well, I had one of my friends. He said that the whole concert. He said that there was some kind of huge storm that came, and it just poured. But somehow they stayed in a bubble, and they didn't get dry, or they didn't get wet under the concert bubble. But as they were walking out in the parking lot, it was just pouring rain everywhere. It was so pouring.
Those stories are numerous. I saw them at Red Rocks one time. It was a beautiful, clear night, and they were playing a song called "It Looks Like Rain." And the climax comes when they do this repeating chord progression, do 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 do, and Bob Ware's singing, "Well, it looks like rain and it feels like rain. Oh Lord, the rain is coming down because it looks like rain and it feels like rain." And they got to that, and this sudden shower just poured at the climax of the song. Here come the rain, and they ended the song, and the rain shower ended. I saw them do one concert at the Silverdome in Las Vegas on a summer May day, and it was bright sun. It was late afternoon, and it was this stadium, and we heard this. The Dead are playing, and you'd hear this cheering from the back section, the high section of the stadium, and you could tell the band was kind of like, what is that? And all of a sudden the people would just and what it was like, okay, here's the stadium, and the band is here, and these people are up here. They could see in the distance a lightning storm that only they could see, and the crowd, the high levels in the back were reacting to this lightning storm. And as the Dead played, these storm clouds came over the stadium with lightning on either side, and the Dead played the storm like they were, and there'd be lightning, and the drummers would go with the thunder, and it was just like they played this maelstrom of music as the storm came over us, and then they do these like just dissonant music, and then they broke into this beautiful ballad where Jerry was singing this beautiful song, and the sun broke through, and this shaft of light hit Jerry just as he was singing this ballad. And we were all just going, this is absolute magic. This is absolute. They're controlling the weather.
It sounds like it. I mean, it really does sound like a Native American dance, calling the rain, and it's very, very, very special. I've never experienced it, but it sounds like what an amazing experience.
I would have loved to have taken you to a Grateful Dead concert. Like, it couldn't be recorded. I could play their albums or their live recordings, and you'd hear it on the speaker in the room and go, well, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, they seem like good musicians. Then you'd go there in person, and it's 100,000 times better than you. It's like unbelievable. Yeah, people that have seen the Dead know what I'm talking about. It's
fascinating. I remember when I was a little girl, I was in 6th grade. We had just moved from Maine to Indiana. We went to the Kentucky State Fair, and evidently the Grateful Dead was there because the hippies were everywhere, naked, patchouli in the air. I mean, it was just the most wildest thing I'd ever seen as a 6th grader. And that was my only knowledge of the Grateful Dead until I've been older now as a musician, just listening to them, on the CD.
Let me take you back a few centuries. Imagine being a peasant in feudal Europe, where you live in a little village, where you live in basically a mud and straw hut, and you don't have a stereo system like maybe somebody plays the fiddle or something, in the town, but you live a pretty mundane experience without great art. You're living off the land. You have the beauty of nature, but you've never heard music or seen a structure that's more than 2 stories tall. And you go to a cathedral and you walk in, and it's like this soaring, majestic place. And then they have a choir singing this ethereal music, and the stained glass windows and the light coming in through the stained glass windows. That would be a transformative experience to normal people back then. And that was designed to be that way. So it gives you that awe and wonder, and channels energy. It focuses energy, creates energy. So throughout, the Grateful Dead were an incarnation of that type of experience, I think.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see where we go next, for sure.
We're going someplace interesting. Well, I'm supposed to know because I'm supposed to remote view it, but I get little glimpses and I put them down and see. I try to not overstate my abilities. Like sometimes I do pretty good work and sometimes it doesn't work, and I'm just a normal guy. I just live here in Hawaii, go to the beach and swim, play my guitar, and get a target ID and do the best I can, get little ideas sometimes. So I try to be humble.
I love watching you, Dick. You're very talented. You're definitely one of my favorite remote viewers. I mean, I love all of the team, but I really thoroughly enjoy watching.
Well, you. I'm a showman because I was on TV, so I know how to work a camera. Yeah, but in the watch the Klaus Schwab when it comes out, because there's one moment where I'm talking and I really was into the remote viewing thing and I was losing words because you go so right-brained, or is it left-brained? Your creative brain, your logical brain is just shut off. And so I was trying to say, I drill these dead bodies, and I said, I was going to try to say he doesn't care in the least. And I go, he doesn't care the elite. And I went, it was a Freudian slip that was just beautiful. Like it just came out of me. He doesn't care in the elite. And I went, why did I say that? And you can see my reaction on camera. It's like, oh, I said elite, but I meant the least, but I really did mean elite. And I just got tangled up in that for an instant. But it was a genuine moment. I can watch myself on camera and tell when I'm bullshitting and when I'm real. Like I start out, I don't know if I can do this, and I'm going back over stuff I've already done, and then at some point when it starts to go, it's different. Yeah.
Well, Dick,
Hey, it's
I'm
been a
really
great conversation. Thank you for everything you do for future forecasting. We're so great that we brought you on board. It's like we go scoop up all the good people and get them working for us. That's what we do.
that's what we're making our circle great is what we're doing, to
Mm-hmm.
steal that word from Jay. But it's a great team, and I'm excited for the future.
So we'll talk more when we get more people on board, like less Grateful Dead stories and more about people that have had some success in life, that have some wealth, and they want to protect it. Like we sell memberships, but we're not doing like multi-level stuff or like buy our product. Like just go take care of your own stuff. That's the cryptos. It's all on you. You've got to take responsibility. So no one's going to do it for you. You've got to learn how to handle a wallet. You got to learn how to hold your keys. You got to learn how to make your, keep it secure. You got to learn how to pay your own taxes. But we can kind of point you in those directions. And I've been kind of the lab rat for what kind of success you can get with cryptocurrency. So I've done pretty well.
And we know that the future is it's going to be sustainable development goals and environmental social governance. Again, all on distributed ledger technology. So
I prefer, I like the way the world was like in about 1978, 77, the freedom we had, just enough technology, but not too much.
right.
A constitution, whatever illusion we were living under, it was a good one and it was a good life. And we're hurtling towards something new that's going to be different. And I don't think you're going to prevent it. You're just going to need to protect yourself within it. So,
yeah. Right. And hopefully we won't see too drastic of earthquakes this week after this crazy sunspot stuff.
I've got it. I'm supposed to remote view tonight, and it's the peak of that solar storm. I may hold off a day or two on that because I'm sensitive to that stuff. So we'll see.
Right on. Aloha.
All right. It's been great talking with you. Thank you so much.
Same, Dick. Have a wonderful day. See ya.
Aloha. Bye-bye.
Bye.